Alright, now it's time for level 4. I was getting very, very excited on what I was about to get myself into. I started predicting on what was going to happen in this new level on this new world, on what new monsters I would be fighting, and what new levels that I would be getting myself into, and what monster that I would get when I would be getting chased down by the large demon thing. I could only hope for the best. And so I got started to prepare the next level, and the next level was called Torture. Once we loaded up into the level, I first looked at all my game pieces. I saw Godzilla, Mothra, Anguirus, and of course my very brand new kaiju, Rodan. I was getting very excited to play as Rodan. I was wondering on what his attacks and what his fighting skills were going to be in this game. I bet it was going to be super cool to finally play as Rodan. Rodan had always been one of my favorite Godzilla kaijus, besides Anguirus and Mothra. After looking at the sprites, I then decided to go look at the boss fights. The boss fights were King Kong, Megalon, and Megaguirus. Sounds pretty interesting, but I really did like how they added King Kong. King Kong was also one of my favorite kaijus, so I was instantly getting ready to play. Let's move on to the levels. The first level that I played was this weird cave fiery-like pit. I played as Rodan through this level. I was walking inside a cave full of what looked like to be bones of some type of animals, bones of kaijus, and many other creatures. It was a very disturbing sight to see, but the most disturbing part about it was of how realistic the bones of the different kaijus looked. During the level, I encountered more demonic-like creatures. Some of the creatures were the same creatures that I encountered back in Chapter 2, Level 2, and some creatures that were new. I started to wonder that if I was going to see new monsters throughout the entire game. Sometimes I would see old monsters, and sometimes I would see new monsters. That would seem pretty cool to me, but I don't understand why they would be reusing the same monsters that appeared back in Level 2. But I did shrug it off though. I also discovered that Rodan had a flying ability just like Mothra. This flying ability can easily become useful to ignore enemies. Another level that I played was this weird fiery-like mountain level. I chose Godzilla for this level. In this level, I was playing as Godzilla through some sort of volcanic-looking mountain. I suppose that there had to have been some exit way. The background once again looked very realistic, and in the background there was this weird shining glowing sun. It almost looked like the actual real sun. The enemies in this game were some weird animal-like creatures. The first one being this weird pig hyena hybrid-like creature that almost looked very realistic. And the other creature being this weird chicken human reptilian-like hybrid monster. However though, as the level progressed on, the level started to become a little too dark. The level started to get much more darker the more I started to play through it. Eventually, the background became much more red-like, and this time active volcanoes started to appear. I even started to encounter more realistic, more terrifying looking creatures. One creature looked like a turtle-like creature with a long neck, with a human-like head with no pupils and big ears, with weird utensils for hands, and with no legs, making it look like it can float in the air. And I also encountered this weird red reptilian-like creature. probably one of the only creatures in this game that was actually pixelated and not realistic. This level gives me creeps to this day. Another level that I played was this weird, fiery, hellish looking background. I played as Mothra through this level. In this level, I was playing as Mothra, flying through what seemed like a reddish fiery like background. The background had fire, there was fire in the background, but it resembled more of like some type of ancient drawing or something. There were also these large rock-like mountains. The enemies were these weird eagle-like creatures with demon horns on them. They kind of reminded me of the creatures that I encountered in level 2. Eventually, during the game, I encountered once again another mini-boss. This time the creature looked large. Its body was not visible, but it did have a very long neck. Its head resembled that of the skeleton of a whale, and it had a light bluish greenish like eye. The creature didn't have that much sort of attacks. All what the creature could do was just open its mouth, try to bite you, and just blocking your path. It's pretty much very easy to destroy this creature. I was simply easily able to defeat this thing just by shooting it in its neck. The final level that I played was this weird molten ash lava-like level. I decided to choose Anguirus for this level. In this level, I was playing as Anguirus, walking through some sort of molten lava-like pit. There was a bunch of small tiny volcanoes. Some of them were slowly dripping lava straight out of them. I encountered a lot of creepy creatures in this game. One of them being some weird crocodile hippo hybrid creature that looked very realistic, and one being this weird hawk-like creature with a clown face. Not only did I encounter a lot of enemies in this game, but I also had to go through some obstacle courses. I'm not the best at doing obstacle courses in games, but it was a little bit hard for me, since I had not had to deal with all these enemies chasing me around everywhere, but I was able to get through along with it. And so I was eventually able to defeat this level without truly ever getting hurt. Alright, now it's time for the boss fights. The first boss that I fought was Megalon. Megalon's boss mechanics were pretty similar to Mogira's. First, Megalon simply ran directly towards me, but I easily dodged his attack just by jumping over him. I liked to do this a couple of times and use this as an advantage to jump on top of Megalon's head to easily damage him more. However, one attack that did annoy me was that Megalon could instantly spam his laser beam attack and shoot out a fireball that if it hit you, it would easily explode. I could simply try to dodge this just by ducking, but it was pretty low impossible to do this. But I was able to defeat Megalon in the process. The next boss that I fought was Megaguirus. I decided to choose Rodan for this boss fight, just to test to see how well my Rodan figure was in battle. But Megaguirus was a pretty tricky boss fight. She could run very fast, making it much easier for her to hit you. It's kind of an annoying attack, and you have to learn how to dodge all of her attacks. But however though, the most annoying attack that Megaguirus has is that simply during the boss fight, Megaguirus can simply grab you and suck all of the energy out of your body, draining your health bar, and causes her to regain her own health herself. It is a very annoying attack, and I had a lot of trouble trying to dodge it. Overall, the Megaguirus boss fight was pretty hard and was pretty tough. I had to think a lot of strategies in order to defeat Megaguirus. It was pretty tough. but eventually in the end I was able to successfully defeat Megaguirus. The final boss that I played in this level was King Kong. I decided to choose Godzilla for this boss fight because duh, it seemed pretty fitting, but King Kong was a pretty clever boss fight. Immediately when the boss fight happened, King Kong immediately rushed over to me and punched me right in my chest. I instantly responded to the punch by shooting an atomic breath at Kong, but however, Kong actually dodged the atomic breath attack. Now this was starting to get very interesting. However, all of a sudden, instantly during the fight, some weird lightning strike effect began to appear on the video game screen, and Kong actually got hit by the lightning strike. And because of this, Kong was now given the ability to shoot lightning from his hands. Nowhere in my life have I felt such enjoyment from playing this boss fight. I never expected a boss fight with King Kong to ever be like this. This was actually very awesome. I kinda now wish that Kong actually did appear in the original Godzilla Monster of Monsters game. But I was eventually able to defeat King Kong. After when I defeated King Kong, the screen then went to black. Godzilla then appeared on the screen. Oh boy, here we go again. Another chase with the demon. I started wondering on what kaiju I was gonna get this time. I hoped the kaiju was gonna be awesome. All of a sudden, just like what happened last two times, a cage once again appeared on the screen. And there was, of course, another monster inside the cage. I instantly recognized the monster to be King Caesar from Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla. And once again, those giant white glowing eyes began to stare directly down at me.
All right, it's time to play again. And this time, I've made sure you won't beat me.
And so the chase was once again on. I found myself running away from the demonic demon again. Just like what happened last time, there were now spikes on the ground again. But this time the level had been made a bit more harder than it was before. Not only were there spikes on the ground, but there were also spikes above the ground as well. There were spikes on the bottom and on the top as well. This made the level even more harder because now not only did I have to jump and spam the speed button, but I also had to jump, spam the speed button, and spam the duck button. This was getting much more harder. I knew that this level was just gonna get harder and harder every time. I was for sure that I wasn't probably going to make it. I assumed that I was probably just going to die right there, and that I either wasn't going to get my monster, or I'll explain later. But it's just so odd to me on how such a level can get so much harder and more trickier, more impossible. But I had to keep trying, and I kept spamming the speed, jump, and duck button. And eventually I was once again able to outrun this demon.
What? You beat me again? How is this possible? Fine, you can have your monster, but next time I will make sure you lose, and then your soul will belong to me.
And just like with that, we unlocked King Caesar. Oh man, this was so exciting. First I unlocked Anguirus, then I unlocked Rodan, and now I unlocked King Caesar. This was truly a dream come true. Yes, this is perfect. I got Anguirus, Rodan, Godzilla, Mothra, and now King Caesar. Yes, perfect. Now I can use all of these monsters to take down any enemy that comes in our way. But there's still something a little bit odd. Some of the creatures in this game look realistic, and some of them look pixelated. Some of these look far too realistic for a regular human being to make. I feel like there's something a bit odd about this hack. Something a little bit mischievous. I don't know why, but I kind of have this sudden feeling that I'm in danger. But it could just be me. And so we moved on to the next level.